Hey, you're good enough for Detroit, Jay.
You're not just good enough for Detroit, you're also good enough for Lansing, Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor. The Lions won a playoff game. The Packers made every cowboy in this country consider a lactose-free diet. Baker Mayfield is 2-1 in the playoffs despite playing scout team defense last year for the Panthers. And rookies shined all wildcard weekend despite weather that would kill most mortal men. Today, I will reveal the real winners and losers from NFL wildcard weekend, but not before we hit the Blop 10 plays. Trump may have won the Iowa caucuses, but the Blop 10 won all of the cocks. Number 10, this drop pass at the end of the game was the reason Jordan Love didn't have a perfect passer rating. Now, I would argue that a passer rating should take drops into account, but clearly whoever made a stat on a scale that goes from 0 to 158.3 wasn't thinking that hard. Blop 9, Brad Holmes in an elevator. A lot of people don't realize this, but this video was taken before the game. This man just really loves elevators. Number 8, not only were the Cleveland Browns high on drugs, they were using those drugs to break dance on Joe Flacco's head. John Elway was a legend for his helicopter against the Packers, but the true eliteness of Joe Flacco was that he got a player to helicopter on him. Number 7, is Maurice Jones-Drew a homophobe?
Right. I mean, is it possible that they could ride the D? The defense? Okay.
Are we such children that we can no longer say ride the D without sex perverts misconstruing the meaning? Next, they'll make fun of us for common football phrases like busting through the hole, penetration, and of course, beating Goff. Number 6, the weather in Buffalo on Saturday. Shut up, weather. This was how fans found their seats after the game was moved a day. Laugh all you want, but this will be every week in 2058 when Roger Goodell Jr. places the 96th NFL team in the new Republic of Antarctica, which of course won't have enough taxpayers to fork over the trillion Neo credits required to build the dome. Blop 5, Nico Collins gets wide open, running in a straight line. He does 0 wide receiver moves. And in true Blop fashion, Stroud misses him. This is a play where literally everyone sucked. Blop 4, it was so cold on Saturday night in Arrowhead that Patrick Mahomes' helmet broke on contact against the Dolphins. I sincerely believe that if someone got a clean hit on him, he could have been shattered, like in Time Cop.
Have a nice day.
Blop 3, Matthew Stafford falling on his back pedal. Damn, Matthew Stafford really is better at tackling than the entire Eagles defense. Number 2, Stephon Diggs does not care about germs, and he drank the Steelers water bottle. And this was enough for me to proclaim that COVID is done. It's gone. It is never coming back. Just kidding, I know that whatever was in that water bottle was frozen solid, like the mini beers in Kansas City. And yes, that's what it looks like when you ride the D for too long, Maurice. Blop 1, it's very fitting that in the last game of the Eagles season, they finally failed to convert on the anal advance. So glad that that nickname stuck. Rest in peace to the rectal ride. Jason Kelce saw 350-pound Vita Vea get lower than him and decided then and there it was time to call it a career. And my Blop 0, Mike Tomlin after the Steelers loss.
Mike, you have a year left on your contract.
Wait, what made Mike so angry? Mike, what's your favorite Antonio Brown song?
On your contract.
Losing Fairy Tale? Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's Cinderella run came to an abrupt end after the Texans walloped the Browns 45-14. I say Cinderella, but like if Cinderella got a gritty reboot, like she was a 40-year-old chain-smoking divorcee and her wicked stepmother was an alleged sex offender and the prince turned out to be Jimmy Haslam, and when the carriage turned back into a pumpkin, some teenager came and just smashed the shit out of it. That said, the first half of the Texans-Browns game was competitive. Every play felt like a big play. David Njoku, Kareem Hunt were cooking. 5 lead changes in the first 18 minutes of this back and forth game. I was thoroughly truly entertained. Unfortunately, this shovel pass to Kareem Hunt was the shovel the Browns also used to dig their own grave. My most unlikely big touchdown scorer is Texans tight end Brevin Jordan. Now, Brevin flashed against the Broncos on December 3rd. All season, though, he had just 2 TDs, and 64 yards was the most he had in a single game. On Saturday, he caught 1 ball for 76 yards and a touchdown. That was more than half his production for all of 2022. So yeah, doing half a year's worth of work on one play would make any man tired. Nico Collins may have been in play for best individual performer if Joe Flacco didn't start firing touchdowns to the defense. Winners? Second half Texans defense. The Texans D took advantage of their opportunities provided by Flacco, becoming the first defense since the year 2007 to get 2 pick sixes in a playoff game. Former Kansas City Chief Steven Nelson got a pick 6, as did linebacker Christian Harris. Harris also had a sack in this game, and as long as the Texans defense can stay opportunistic, I think they can beat anyone in the playoffs.
Houston, you have no problem.
Speaking of Noah Eagle, it is hilarious hearing Noah, at age 26 years old, call Bobby Slowick a young man.
You had a chance to talk to Slowick. He's an impressive young man. He's been a part, obviously, of that Shanahan coaching tree.
That's like hearing Phillip Rivers say someone has too many children. Losers, the Browns defense and the Dolphins offense having to play their games, their playoff games, on National Opposite Day. Winning receiver, Rashee Rice. In freezing cold temperatures, where his hands must have felt like the beer being sold at Arrowhead, he reeled in 8 of his 12 targets, which for Chiefs receivers is like catching 110% of your passes. He had 130 yards and that early touchdown, but whenever Mahomes needed a play in the passing game, it felt like Rice was there. You know what? The Chiefs had Montana, and now they have Rice, which seems very unfair. And the playing conditions should only get better for Rice moving forward this postseason. MJD might not be comfortable saying it, but as a man totally in tune with the spectrum of his own sexuality, I can confirm the Chiefs can
Ride the D?
They ride the D better than anyone right now, actually. And it's not fair to the Dolphins. They don't deserve all the hate they're getting after this loss, but this meme of them, it really made me laugh when I saw it.
With all due respect, F off.
My winning under-the-radar stat, Patrick Mahomes, and his 41 rushing yards on just 2 carries. He ripped off a 28-yard run on 4th and 5 in the second quarter that led to a field goal, and then again for 13 in the third that also set up 3 points. He makes those runs every postseason, and I fucking hate it. I am sick of it. Please fall on your ass, Pat, and fumble, you son of a bitch. Now, I already ripped the Cowboys pretty good in the new worst game ever, so I want to shed a positive light on Aaron Jones, who I think is this week's winning running back. Not just for his 115-yard, 3-touchdown performance, not just for overcoming the odds of playing through a ripped jersey, you hero, but for being the catalyst for the Packers offense.
You the reason I go hard, bro.
Love runs that offense, don't get me wrong, but it functions at optimal levels because of Aaron Jones. He's the most important back in the postseason not named CMC. During Green Bay's 4-game win streak, he has not rushed for less than 111 yards. Last game that the Packers lost, he only had 53. So he's the guy, in my opinion, that allows LaFleur to run that offense exactly as he wants. Losing parents? The couple who has allowed one of their 2 sons and sweet brother to be a Cowboys fan in a Packers family? That's a Packers family, and they let one of their sons choose the Cowboys. That's child abuse, and I will be calling social services. That poor kid, he's never gonna win. Winning fans? Detroit Lions. Maybe a lifetime achievement for you guys. Like a lot of my former lovers, Lions fans started this game by booing their former lover. And they ended it crying, like me after sex, which is why All my former lovers booed me. Winning team, it was really the Lions. The first 2 touchdown drives were really impressive for Detroit, which got the Rams off their game plan, which would be running the ball. Kyren Williams had just 13 carries in the game, and that fast start was huge for Detroit, especially considering they only scored 3 points in the second half. But as a team, everyone made plays for the Lions. Goff started the game going 10 for 10. Josh Reynolds was doing the dirty work in the receiving game. Amon-Ra had 110 yards. Gibbs and Montgomery each scored touchdowns. Sam Laporta played through injury and scored a TD. Dan Campbell got a huge 4th down conversion. Aiden Hutchinson, 2 sacks. Even the officials falsely accusing the Lions of penalties could not stop this team. And when the Lions play as a team, nobody beats Goff. No matter how hard Stafford tried, and Stafford tried so hard, his hand started bleeding. Even Mike Tirico referenced Stafford's failed attempts to beat Goff.
The hand that has taken a beating already this season.
You know whose hand was in no danger of bleeding? This guy. That dude was so happy he finally got to see the Lions win, he didn't even seem to mind that he got left hanging on national TV. Winning QBs? When 2 winning quarterbacks have the exact same stat line in impressive performances, I have to let them share the honor. Stroud and Love, exact same stats. CJ Stroud became the youngest quarterback to win a playoff game at just 22 years and 102 days, a record that only exists to prove how much you, the viewer, have wasted your life. Stroud was way too composed in that big of a moment for someone who was born after the Dolphins' last playoff win. Stroud was lobbing up dimes all day and might have had another long touchdown if not for a stumble from a wide-open Nico Collins. The Texans' defense did make it very easy on Stroud in the second half, though. And one day later, Jordan Love was perfect. Well, almost. He did lock up a perfect passer rating of 158.3 before getting to sit and let backup QB Sean Clifford finish off the game, but then it got a little too close for comfort. He had to go back in. His passer rating dipped because of a drop pass to a very disappointing 157.2. He was so close to becoming the first QB to record a perfect passer rating in a playoff debut, and the first to do it since Peyton Manning in January of 2004. No need to show any clips from that game. I remember who it was against. Love made 2 throws in this game that blew me away. A back foot dime to the end zone to Wicks on 3rd and 7, and a ridiculous throw across his body to Romeo Doubs for his 3rd touchdown of the game. Those are the kind of throws that put you in the elite talent class of Stafford, Mahomes, and Rodgers. And everyone likes to say that he learned that from Rodgers, but that's like trying to learn how to be a fucking genius. Either you have it or you don't. And let's give Matt LaFleur some credit for seeing Jordan Love's biggest flaw and correcting it. No, not footwork. Jordan Love's desire to drink heavily before games.
And Love wanted to take it himself, but I guess he and Josh Myers, they weren't on the same page.
Losing QBs? Yeah, Dak Prescott and Tua Tagovailoa. It's rough when you lose badly. And people are comparing the 2 losing QBs to one another, saying they're interchangeable. More horrifying is Dak and Tua making Cam Newton look like a genius.
Tua Tagovailoa, and really, Dak Prescott. These are game managers. They're not difference makers.
And no offense to Cam, but that's not how I want my geniuses to look. I used to want them to look like Stephen Hawking, but I can't even say that anymore. Now, Dak had 0 passing yards in the first quarter. It's actually kind of impressive that Dak didn't have positive yardage until there were 12 and a half minutes left in the second quarter and managed to finish the game with over 400 yards. But that's, of course, a testament to Joe Barry's prevent defense and some of the most elite stat padding I've ever seen in a playoff game. Last week, I noted that Dak stayed true to his word and didn't throw 10 interceptions all season, but that changed within a quarter. And if Jair Alexander doesn't get contacted on his way to the ground, Dak would have matched Joe Flacco's record with a pair of pick sixes this weekend, because he threw this ball right to Darnell Savage to make it 27-0. That's when the game ended. Dak also boasted the worst losing percentage in postseason history with at least 5 playoff starts for a QB.
We need another quarterback, another coach. We need help. We need Jesus.
Dak's first half meltdown was at least fun to watch. But Tua just looked completely impotent in the freezing cold against the Chiefs. There was more shrinkage going on from Tua than that guy who jumped into the aquarium at the Bass Pro Shops in Alabama. Tua's one touchdown pass of the game was almost entirely Tyreek Hill making a great adjustment to an underthrown ball and then making defenders miss on his way into the end zone. Hill did that which is impressive. At some point in the second half, it just looked like Tua and the rest of the Dolphins offense wanted to go home. Because why else would you throw a ball 10 yards short of the sticks on 4th and 16 with 6.5 minutes left in the game? Both Dak and Tua were so bad that they went from MVP candidates this season to now getting talked about as holding their teams back. That's how disastrous this wild card round was for both QBs. And for the record, I don't think you would move on from either of these QBs. But it's imperative the Dolphins don't choke away home field advantage. And for the Cowboys, shit, they might need to choke away home field advantage because that doesn't seem to be working out too well for them. The Kirk Cousins Award is going to Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. Remember, this is an award that goes to a quarterback who, no matter what he does, his team loses. Stafford took one of the worst beatings I've seen a QB take in a playoff game, and he didn't miss a snap.
Took a shot to the ribs and to the head, but felt fine, came back in, felt good.
He had 367 passing yards, 2 TDs, no picks, and a no-look pass that even Mahomes couldn't sling. And Stafford will probably be in a sling for a while. And 181 of those yards were to rookie phenom Puka Nacua. We're all familiar with Nacua's explosion to the NFL ball catcher scene this year, but the fact that he produced like this in the postseason, outshining his teammate, former Triple Crown winner Cooper Kupp, is impressive. Stafford was still composed and graceful enough to give credit to his former team after the game, saying,
"I'm happy for the players. Happy for those guys."
Now you might read that as Stafford being a little short, but that's more words than you should be able to string together in a coherent sentence after looking like this earlier in the night. Losing stat despite joining the NFL in 2002 and not making the playoffs for the first time until 2011, the Houston Texans officially have more playoff wins in the 21st century than their in-state competition, the Dallas Cowboys. Losing stat, the Dolphins now have the longest drought without a playoff win in the NFL. For 24 hours, they thought they were safe. Then the Lions erased a 3-decade span of sucking. So now the Dolphins, with their pre-9/11 playoff win,
mentioning 9/11 in my message,
the longest a team has gone without winning. The Jets have the longest playoff drought in the NFL, and even they have 6 playoff victories since the Dolphins had a single one. Winners? Rookies. A bunch of rookies scored touchdowns this weekend. Most ever or some shit. You had rookie tight end Sam Laporta scoring a touchdown. Rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs scored a touchdown. Puka Nacua found the end zone. Luke Musgrave got a tutty. 5th round rookie Dontavian Wicks looked at 5th rounder Puka Nacua and said, "Hold my touchdown beer." And of course you had 3 passing TDs from rookie QB CJ Stroud. Buffalo Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid scored a beautiful rookie touchdown, and Trey Palmer gets a 56-yard TD on Monday night. The youth movement wins, and the Packers are kings of the youth. Losers? The fundamentals of tackling. The 2 Pennsylvania teams forgot how to tackle on Monday, and it doomed both of their seasons on the road. The Steelers proved it on multiple occasions. First, when they let Josh Allen blow right through them for a 52-yard TD, the longest scoring run by a QB in the playoffs since Colin Kaepernick went 56 yards against the Packers back in the 2012 divisional round. But I've seen Josh Allen's tweets from 2012, and I know the only kneeling he's doing will be at the end of games. Just kidding, Josh is a good kid, but speaking of knees, Khalil Shakir had one of the most impressive touchdowns of the entire weekend when he somehow kept his kneecap off the ground and shook off a few more Steelers on that 17-yard touchdown that basically sealed the game for the Bills. The best tackle the Steelers made in this game was actually on Stephon Diggs. And he didn't even have the ball. What the hell are you doing here, Pittsburgh? But as bad as the Steelers were bringing down their opponents, it didn't compare to the Eagles. 29-year-old David Moore scored the first playoff touchdown of his career when he went 44 yards against the Eagles. But who needs blockers when you can run right through the defense? And on Trey Palmer's touchdown later in the game, the only tackle Kevin Byard could make was on his own teammate. And no, trying to trip a receiver doesn't count as tackling. Just listen to how disgusted Ray Lewis is by poor tackling.
When you see the angles of these guys and the way they approach tackling, it's crazy. Look, all you got to do is slow the guy down.
According to PFF, the Eagles missed 53 tackles against the Buccaneers on Monday night. Just kidding, they haven't actually released those stats yet, but I'm sure the real number will actually be much, much higher. Winner? Todd Bowles. It's remarkable and kind of sad that after winning the division with the team whose over-under for wins this season was 6.5, Todd Bowles doesn't get any real buzz for Coach of the Year. Nobody wants to talk about him. In fact, they were saying he was on the hot feet. Hot feet? No, that's Rex Ryan. Hot seat. Bowles has long been one of the most underrated figures in the NFL, from coaching a defense that held Kansas City to 9 points in the Super Bowl to winning 10 games with the Jets back in 2015, the only time they've come close to the playoffs in well over a decade. But a year after he lost the wild card round at home with Tom Brady under center, Bowles finally notched his first playoff win with the quarterback whose main selling point this offseason was he's affordable. Specifically affordable enough for a team with the $80 million dead cap hit. Thank you, Todd, for giving me hope as a Broncos fan that my team has a chance to actually be competitive after we swallow the massive pill that is the Russell Wilson contract. Now, if we can just field the top 10 defense and find a quarterback that can not only throw for 28 touchdowns and 4,000 yards, but also only cost $4 million. Actually, can we just have Baker Mayfield? Loser? Nick Siranni. Within the span of just a couple months, Nick Siranni went from this to actually being on the hot seat after his team lost 6 of their last 7 games and were unable to defend their NFC championship with a single playoff win 1 year later. Troy Aikman noted during the broadcast that Jeffrey Lurie's impatience might be a factor in Sirianni potentially losing his job after 3 seasons that resulted in playoff berths and being just a field goal away from winning the Super Bowl. This would be, in my estimation, a huge mistake for Philly. Hurts was very clearly banged up the entire season, and they were also without their best playmaker in A.J. Brown in the biggest game of the season. But Lurie and Howie Roseman were the pair that sent Doug Peterson on his way just 3 seasons after winning the franchise's only Super Bowl, so nothing would surprise me with this team. I think this season is also a huge testament to the importance of coordinators. Philly lost both of theirs and struggled mightily as a result. Thanks for watching the winners and losers. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you made it this far in the video and you are not repulsed by my stupid talking.